is a big issues segment, and there are a lot of big issues to discuss this morning. We're going to try to narrow down on two of them. Yesterday, in the afternoon, we have spoken about this on This Morning, but yesterday in the afternoon, our reporter Solomon Kwame Kanwule in the Northeast region, our Northeast regional correspondent, was attacked, violently assaulted by military personnel who were undertaking some operation in the area. He was detained for well over 2 hours. His mobile phone was factory reset. Everything was wiped off his mobile phone. And he received lashes on his back with sticks and wires by the military personnel. While he was during his detention, they asked him to open his cell phone, enter his password, which he did, and then his private conversations were read. His conversations with his bosses here at Media General were read, and he was subsequently released. Before his release, according to the information he has given us live on Ghana Tonight yesterday, the commander, military commander, called him on the phone just before his release to apologize to him for what had happened. So, according to him, the military commander apologized to him for what had happened. This was after about 60 military officers, he said, detained him, beat him up, reset his phone, and they subsequently let him go. He says he was afraid for his life. He did not think that he was going to survive it. He feared they might just kill him at that point. And you can imagine the trauma that this journalist went through. Now, this is on the back of many other reports on violence against civilians generally and journalists in particular in the line of duty from military personnel. We're going to be talking about this further during Big Issues this morning. But also, we're going to be talking about a lawsuit which has been instituted before the Supreme Court by Professor Frimpong Boateng, Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo, and others against the NPP, the NDC, other political parties, the Attorney General, and the Electoral Commission, asking that the delegate system be abolished, so to speak, asking for a declaration that the delegate system is unconstitutional. And they're asking basically that all card-bearing members or members of the parties are allowed to participate in the process of deciding who their flag bearer should be or who their parliamentary the aspirants should be at the primaries level. So currently what we have is the delegate system where only the delegates vote. But they're asking for all card-bearing members of the party to participate so that the process is free for all. They're saying that the current system is unconstitutional, citing some particular constitutional provisions which we will share with you in the course of the discussion. But this particular topic is one that has gotten a lot of party members talking, especially on social media. I read some of your messages coming in, some saying it's an unnecessarily expensive process. It is not possible to do this. And some also citing instances that happened prior to the 2016 elections where the NDC attempted this approach, claiming that some other parties can infiltrate and pretend to be card-bearing members of the party or immediately just get cards and do things that will not inure to the benefits of the party. What do you think? Let us know. Under our Facebook live stream, you can put in your comments. I'll read them as we go. And also with the hashtag TV3 New Day, you can connect with us live on X. In studio, my guests are here and seated first, Dr. Ramsey Inusa, Director, Political Research, United Party. Good morning.
Good morning, Nah.
And welcome to the show. Great to have you.
Thank you so much, and it's great seeing you again. You're looking smart.
Is it? Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. And today it appears.
Yes, I don't know if you guys had a secret meeting. I am the ordinary person
because
here.
You don't answer your phone.
They're not in the WhatsApp group.
There's a WhatsApp group. Also in studio with us this morning, Hamza Suini, NDC Communications Team Member. Good morning, Hamza.
Good morning.
Great to have you. You're welcome. And our resident lawyer on Tuesdays, lawyer Austin Bracco Powers, private legal practitioner.
Yeah.
You look all suited up and ready for court. Are you going to court from here?
Exactly. I'll do justice to that.
Are you representing Abu Treka?
Oh, no.
Okay.
No.
All right. It's great to have you in
you.
studio. Now, you've seen the photos of our journalist who was attacked, Solomon Kwame, over there. And he says that, he did absolutely nothing wrong. All he had done was park his motorbike in front of a shop, and he was there to pick up a load. He was on a private errand to pick up a load. However, he had been told that the military was on some operation in the area. They had beat up people prior. He had tried to find out from the MCE if he knew about any operation. So even though he was there to pick up his load on a private errand, he was also investigating exactly what had happened with the military and whether the MCE was aware. It was at this time that he was beating up. And we've seen the strokes on his back. And he tells us that he even feared for his life. Now, in the conversations that have taken place after this video came out have been questions about his rights versus the duty of the military to ensure that their operations take place without civilian interference. What can you say about that?
But I'm curious, did his actions interfere with the work of the police or the military? I don't get it.
It doesn't appear so.
Because I don't get the coordination. And in any instance, I'm sure before they even visited the mayhem on him, they would have asked him his role in the within the area, the perimeter of the area. What his role was.
And he told them he was a journalist.
Exactly. So I think this is becoming one too many. And even despite the promises by the police, the military brass, that this time around they were going to respect the work of the media personnel, or let me say journalists, I think we are rather getting a different signal altogether. I think this is very shameful. Because when we make 2 steps forward, it appears that some individuals who, I don't know, may not have been well trained, or sometimes it could be even deliberate. Sometimes there are some people who may even be undertaking activities that, for them, if those things are made public, Ghanaians will have issues with them. So they will always want to cloud their activities in mystery. But that's not how we function. The thing is that the work of the journalists complements the activities of the security forces, police, the military, the Ghana National Fire Service, and others, immigration and others. So when you see them within your activity, and it even ties in with the situation where some fire officers had to beat a journalist.
Yeah,
I think it's not something we should be countenancing. I believe that this is shameful. And the military brass must give us assurance that they will investigate this matter. We need to investigate. And the investigation must not be one of just assembling a group of people, investigating them. When they are done, we don't hear anything. We don't get to see whether people, corporate, are punished or not. Now, I think this is something, I don't want to rope in the government. This is an issue that is becoming too pertinent of these security agencies. And we need to take a serious look at this thing. And the military brass must investigate it and punish those behind it.
Is it a crime to film the military when they are undertaking their operations? Does it go against any law that you know?
In the public space, I doubt.
No, I don't think. The thing is that there's a difference between the journalist filming without your notice, and you telling the journalist not to film because this is a critical activity. They are clearly different. They are different. If the journalist is about filming and you tell the journalist do not film because we are carrying out a delicate operation, that is a different matter.
Okay.
But if you have not notified the journalist that this is an activity you must not involve yourself in, and the journalist is doing or carrying out his or her own duties, responsibilities. In fact, now, mind you, the journalist may have been on a private errand, but if it appears to him that this is a matter that will be of public interest, his work will be activated anytime. In fact, journalists are journalists everywhere, and they are journalists anytime, any day. It's not defined that journalists, you are only a journalist from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. No. Even in your bedroom, you could receive a call. Yes. No, because sometimes I've been in the space, and sometimes at dawn you receive an emergency that you have to be in this area, and you have to go. That's how the work is. So it doesn't matter whether he was on a private errand, which later culminated into an activation of his duties. So long as he is carrying out his responsibilities as a journalist, the security forces of the military, the soldiers, have no responsibility to prevent him, unless you have told him not to film and he did. That would be a different matter altogether. Yet, it does not give you the warrant to inflict such punishment on him. This is not a disorder, a disorderly country where you carry out things, you do things on your own. Even at a point where we're fighting against mob action. Yes. And the military. At a point when one of your own was even had to die out of mob action, and the entirety of the society criticized that, and you are visiting such a mayhem on somebody, beating the person. That is uncalled for. It is disastrous and shameful, and we need to stop some of these activities.
All right, Hamza, you don't seem to agree that a journalist's job does not end at any particular time of day, that they can carry out their duties.
I was just being mischievous.
It's usual self.
It was a lighter note. I just wanted to be sure that he was not trying to create the impression that even in the bedroom with your wife and kids, the work continues.
It was just in jest. It does. It was just in jest.
Anyway, now you see, first of all, good morning to my colleagues here, and of course you and your production team and our cherished viewers out there. It can be frustrating having to discuss issues of police and military brutalities when it comes not just to the work of journalists in this country, but even innocent civilians. And for me, what makes me particularly sad is the culture of simply entertaining this kind of recklessness anytime it happens, with discussions of this nature, then moving on as a country immediately after.
Yes.
That is the problem. So we need to understand that in as much as the problems associated with many of these incidents can be traced not just to the military as an institution, but also to the way recruitments are done when it comes to the military, and most importantly, our lax attitude when it comes to issues of accountability. And I'll explain the issue of accountability. We all know, as a country, that when it comes to recruitment into our security services, all manner of considerations are given. Especially one telling story of our recruitment processes has to do with the political interference. Nobody can turn a blind eye on that. Look, because of politics, all manner of people, all characters who ordinarily should not go near these professional institutions are aided to go through in the name of politics consideration. And so it is not surprising that many of these people, when they get the opportunity to be in uniform, feel that the uniform rather empowers them to inflict mayhem and exert their own manner of law on the ordinary Ghanaian, and not rather to project our adherence to the rule of law as a people. That is the problem. And so the first point is for us to concentrate on our recruitment processes, then proceed to also evaluate the kind of training that they are subjected to when they are recruited. When we are able to do so, then possibly we would have been getting closer to nipping many of these unfortunate incidents in the bud. Then it brings me to the issue of accountability. journalists belong to professional associations. If for nothing at all, I know that we have the Ghana Journalists Association of Ghana. This is not the first time we are recording this. I remember not long ago, on this same platform, we discussed the incidents that happened at the NPP head office. And not just the NPP head office. I know as a matter of fact that most of the political parties, almost all, have had incidents where journalists are either attacked or assaulted. But it appears that the professional body intended to champion the interests of journalists themselves are sleeping.
You think the GJA is sleeping?
Yes. On this important matter.
They only issue a statement.
They only issue statements. You see?
And yes, it.
You guys have the power to shut the entirety of this nation down, to demand accountability when it comes to the work of the profession of the security institutions. And how do you do that? A decision by the Ghana Journalists Association to say that, look, all media houses in this country are not going to operate for the next 1 week until we find those officers behind this unfortunate brutality against not just a journalist, but a citizen of the Republic of Ghana. Nobody will do it for you. And so there's the need for you to also begin demanding accountability, not just from these security agencies and from government, but your own organization that has the power to act. You also have the National Media Commission. Invoke the powers of the National Media Commission to ensure that not just the Ghana military, any other institution that is deemed to be engaging in acts that threatens the safety of your workforce. Nobody is going to do it for you, trust me. And as for the military, you are those equipped with the, what do you call it? The privilege advantage, or the privilege of simply bringing scrutiny to their work. Politicians would be more than careful to interfere in the works of the military, especially when it comes to disciplinary measures. We saw what happened in this country also not long ago, when even under, I think in Ashama, broad daylight,
I'm telling you,
soldiers, military officers took the laws into their own hands and paraded the civilians on the streets, whipped.
Yeah.
And so these are issues we need to concentrate on. As for me, I always say, we may queue in elections to vote for parties and presidents. But the fundamental mistake we make in this country is thinking that simply casting a ballot to elect a president or to put a party in power ends all the problems or gives that person the power to be able to end all our challenges. The role must be complementary in nature. Our role as citizens of this country, it doesn't just end after elections or electing a president. And so we expect the president to do whatever it takes to solve all our problems. And that we have done our bit by simply voting the man into office. It goes beyond that. Even in office, we must indicate that we are still committed to playing our role in ensuring accountability and ensuring that our institutions work.
Now, the president has...
The unfortunate thing is that there are bad nuts in every organization. Now, look, there are so many people we can make references to in the military who are clearly professional in terms of the way they conduct affairs. But unfortunately, isolated incidents of this nature has the tendency of spoiling or attacking the integrity and image of that particular organization. And they themselves must be concerned.
Yes,
This
may be an isolated problem. And if it involved 1 or 2 or 3 military officers, I guess we may say they are bad nuts. But this journalist describes over 60, there were a lot of them, at least 60 military officers. And none of them intervened.
And so that comes...
So that goes to... It's a bigger problem than an isolated case with 1 or 2 or 3 rogues. The problem is deep-rooted.
Yeah, systemic.
I don't know if it is the training. You have mentioned recruitment. The president has spoken time and time again about his commitment towards press freedom and independence of the media. What would you say this government can do, especially with regards to the recruitment problem?
First of all, I think
And
that this
political
government for the
interference.
first time decided to open up the recruitment processes once again. But that is not the only way to resolve the problem. I cannot sit here and be a hypocrite and assume that even in the current recruitments that are ongoing, they are likely not to be political considerations. It is a cultural thing that has taken shape for so many years. I can only hope and pray that under His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, we would resist the temptation to ensure that we privilege political considerations over professionalism when it comes and qualifications when it comes to the recruitment process into the military. I can only hope and pray, especially knowing the man at the helm of affairs. But you see, now, it also calls for major institutional reform. And that's why I'm saying that it is not enough to expect President Mahama to resolve all these problems in a matter of a year or two, or for us to just conclude that the solution lies with him. Even President Mahama himself needs you guys to scrutinize his activities when it comes to his pledge to reform our institutions. And that is why I'm saying that you can be of help as an organization or as a professional body if you ensure that you activate all internal mechanisms to demand accountability from the military itself. The President Mahama himself, as Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces, would not be able to stand on your way. That is how you lead reforms. That is how you bring about change. But as we speak today, at best, you will file a petition to His Excellency President Mahama. President Mahama will take it as president because at that particular moment, it becomes political. You are refusing to take advantage of the laid down laws to demand accountability. So if you file a petition and he files a petition for it to be investigated, and even if the investigation report is out, we'll run commentary around it with politics. We saw it in the unfortunate demise of our senior colleagues in that helicopter crash. When the report was finally made public, what didn't we hear? The kind of political undertones that characterize even commentary around that particular investigation. So that's why I'm saying that force that accountability. And this is a government that is open to issues of accountability. I'm not sure that President Mahama will stand on your way. In fact, you'll be emboldening him. Using the Ghana Journalists Association, you'll be emboldening President Mahama to demand the needed accountability from the military installations. But I still stand with my earlier statement that, look, not all of them are that reckless. Not all of them are that, I'm looking for the appropriate word so that I don't appear insulting, because the temptation to be ballistic is so...
We get the message.
But you see, now
the
the bottom line is the Ghana Journalists Association must begin to act. We saw how the National Union of Ghana Students in the past shaped policy and forced educational discipline. We have seen it in the past where the Ghana Journalists Association also rose up to the challenge. The Ghana Bar Association, regardless of its problems, we saw the role it played in transitioning Ghana to a democratic country. Let us see the Ghana Journalists Association and its leadership moving beyond rhetorics and the issuance of statements to actually demanding proper action in their quest to protect the interests and lives of their members.
All right, Hamza, let me come to you, Doc. You have been an advocate for the proper behavior of our various security agencies, especially the police. And I can only imagine how you must feel about this incident which has happened.
Well, now let me say a very good morning to the good people of Ghana. Hearing this news this morning gives me a feeling of melancholy, and I hope and pray that the laws and the articles of our Constitution that talks about human rights are invoked to protect this journalist and any other citizen going forward. On this note, I would like to tell the team here, or your management, that I would like to take care of the medical bills of your colleague journalists.
Oh.
Yes, this is my first step in this fight. This year, I have a project, as you mentioned, to bring some reforms in our security agency, especially the police, which I would say is an organization that is quite sensitive and should not be run like a mafia organization. Unfortunately, the Ghana Police Service and the Ghana military is being run like a mafia organization. They go out there in the streets, do whatever they want to do, and they think that they are above the law. Now, as political actors seated here, should we invoke the powers of the people against them? Is that what they want to see? So that they will sit up? What is the population and what's the staff strength of the Ghana Police Service and the Ghana military put together? Are they more than the civilians? If there's a day the civilians rise against them, would they be able to resist? We are talking about power here. If they think that the uniform gives them some form of comfort or power, and that they are ultra citizens than others, then I think they're making a big mistake. And their leadership, if they are listening, they ought to go back to the drawing books and really rethink the training curriculum they give these officers. Because some of them act as if, excuse me to say, I mean, they were raised in the jungle. Right? We are a country with laws, guided by a constitution, for God's sake. If you read Article 15, and permit me to read Article 15, 2A, it says that no person shall, whether or not he is arrested, restricted or detained, be subjected to A, torture or other cruel, inhumane, or degrading treatment or punishment, any other condition that detracts or is likely to detract from his dignity or worth as a human being. So if you read this article, assuming this journalist acted in a contumacious manner, or he was recalcitrant to orders given to him, they have no right under the sun to subject him to such brutality, or any other citizen of this country. The time has come, and I've always been saying that, look, if we leave these cases unattended to, we will sit down here and talk about it time and time and time again. I think that as a citizen, as a progressive one, I am tired of these news. It's far too many. And I think that the powers of the police and the powers of the military to investigate, or the security agencies to investigate matters like this, should be removed from their governance structure. We should have an independent body, because as the lawyers will say, according to the principle of natural justice, one of the key cardinal principles is that you should never be a judge in your own case. And I'm suffering the same fate. And I'm going to release a report on PIPs as to whether Ghanaians should believe in PIPs or they should disregard PIPs, and as to whether PIPs is relevant in the Ghana Police Service governance architecture. I will not want to make certain statements about it now, but at the right time, when I make the statements, I dare anybody from that institution to come and challenge me.
Have you received the reports on your matter?
Nah. I don't want to go into it. I don't want to, give them some hints, because some of them are watching. Mm-hmm. And you know, the funny thing is that last week I was at PIPS, and one officer, his name is Nana, he didn't want to mention his name. In the meeting of trying to bring justice to my matter, made mention of my utterances or my criticisms against the IGP. And that he made a subtle or indirect warning to me. What if the officer is listening today, right?
What did he say?
He said that I should stop attacking, or not even attacking, criticizing. I wouldn't call it an attack. Criticizing the IGP.
The officer told you to stop criticizing the IGP.
I don't know if the IGP, if he's listening, if you have told any officer to come to PIPS to come and give me an indirect threat, I don't know, but you should come out to answer for that. I don't know if the IGP is aware of that. But how is this matter relevant to me seeking justice? Because I quite remember that I gave a constructive criticism on the IGP, and I compared him to the current CJ we have, who is doing fantastic. That I had petitioned the office of the CJ on a certain matter. This person looked at the matter, and sent me a response with action. This is the head of the judiciary. Can you imagine? The head of the judiciary, and looking at the workload and burden on his neck. Same was done to the IGP. Do you know that on Friday, last week Friday was the day I received my response from the office of the IGP?
Since August.
Since August.
Last year.
Last year. And I'm sure it is as a result of certain conversations that I had with certain officers. And I'm sure the letter was even backdated. I'm sure the letter was prepared that same day and it was backdated.
You don't know.
Oh, I'm saying I'm I'm just guessing. Look, because the paper was too fine to be documented on August
Let's
last
stick
year.
to what we know.
So what I'm saying is that
Yes.
now,
The date was August last year.
when I submitted
What was the date on the letter you received?
the response.
September
Last year.
September last year, and the paper came as clean as a whistle, and I'm surprised. But anyways,
It was well kept.
well, you see, for far too many, I think that the Ghana Journalists Association has become what I would call, with due respect, a toothless bulldog. They only bark, but they don't bite. And I think that, as my brother Hamza has intimated this morning, they ought to rise and stand for the rights of their members, and indeed the rights of Ghanaians at large. Nobody, and I repeat, is above the law. If these actions go on for far too long, then what it means is that we that have followers, we that believe in the rule of law, and we that believe in the sovereignty of the people, and as stipulated in Article 1, that the sovereignty of Ghana resides in these people, and so we believe in the people, we would invoke the powers of the people against them, if that is the case. And there's nothing they can do about it. They should be very, very careful. We are not living under a military regime. Even under our military regime, people were not subjected to such continuous brutality. How much more under this democracy? So I want to sit down here in solidarity again with your colleague. And as I've mentioned, I am ready and more than willing to take care of all his medical bills so that he can be able to recuperate his self from such brutality.
And thank you for the very kind offer. But we spoke to him this morning. He's already had medical attention. He's at home and he's recovering now. But thank you for the offer.
But your money will be needed. So it's important. Now, quickly, I think the military, per their consistent actions, have indicated that they are not ready to reform. So, personally, I think the management has to be swift. The gentleman must file a complaint with the police if he hasn't done that. And the media general, you have one of the biggest platforms in this country and even West Africa. Consistently hammer on his issue so that we seek justice for him. Because you see, if you neglect it, and like Hamza said, sometimes when these issues crop up, and after a week or a month, we tend to forget. Then we move on. Let's be consistent. Use your platform. Consistently demand justice. He should file a complaint if he hasn't done that. And if the police is lethargic, if the police are lethargic or they are not willing to do their work, sue the Ghana Armed Forces. Sue the Ghana Armed Forces. Because we need to be taking some of these actions just to inject some level of discipline in them. Because when they feel that we are not able to do anything, we don't act. And like Hamza said, if you rely on the GJA and the NMC, you won't get anything done. Use your platform. You have the weight. When you can dictate and initiate conversations in this country. TV3, you have been doing that. You have the biggest platform. Do that and highlight the injustice meted out to this gentleman. And let's demand justice.
All right. Well, this is a matter that we are taking very seriously. And just like you indicated, we are not going to leave it to lie down or just move on from it like any other story. This is a matter which affects all of us here at Media General. It affects journalists everywhere in this country, and even all civilians.
It affects us as well.
All civilians, really, who could be caught up in this very
It could be you now.
unfortunate situation.
A woman was even slapped in Burma camp. By
Yeah,
a military officer.
she was caught on the video.
Yes,
she was
caught up
and
in
then
a
the
situation
pharmacy.
like this.
Yes.
So this is something that we are not going to leave lying down until we get to the very bottom of it, and whoever needs to be punished is punished in accordance with the law. So we will follow up on it closely. And to our colleague, still our heart goes out to you. He spoke to us. He's very traumatized. In fact, aside the physical assault on his body, his mental state at the time this was happening, he said he didn't think he might get out of it alive because of the number of military officers, all wielding,
serious.
Yeah. So
it's serious.
You can imagine what he went through. Anyway, I see some of the messages coming in, commenting on this matter about the military. I think I'll read your messages soon after we are done with both discussions. I'll reserve some time for that. But let's move on to our second conversation for the morning. There's a suit before the Supreme Court. So Professor Frimpong Boateng, Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo, and Dr. Christine Amwako-Nuama have brought an action before the Supreme Court, and they are challenging the constitutionality of the delegate-based system used by major political parties like the NDC, the NPP, the CPP, in electing their presidential and their parliamentary candidates. All right, now they say that they're asking for a declaration that the delegates-based system is unconstitutional. And they cite some constitutional provisions and some other statutes to back this claim. So they cite Section 9A of the Ghana's Political Parties Act 2000, that's Act 547, and it reads, "The Commission shall not register a political party under this Act unless A, the internal organization of the party conforms with the democratic principles and its actions and purposes are not contrary to or inconsistent with the Constitution." This is Section 9A of Ghana's Political Parties Act 2000. They also cite Article 55(5) of the Constitution. And they're basically saying that this delegate-based system disenfranchises the ordinary person, and just a select few, elites, are allowed to vote, and it allows the system to be monetized. And so whoever has the most amount of money to give to the most number of delegates is at an advantage, and arguments along that line. Let's see what Article 55(5) of the Constitution says, and it will put this conversation into better perspective. All right, we'll bring that up on your screen in a moment. But before we get into that, exactly what is the delegate-based system? What does it look like? Now, all of us on this table, I believe, have a fair understanding of what the delegate-based system is, what it looks like, and how, according to the persons who have brought the suit, it disenfranchises the ordinary person. By the way, the EC and the Attorney General have also joined as defendants in this suit. Let's take a look at Article 55(5) now. All right. Article 55(5) says the internal organization of a political party shall conform to... No, this is... Okay. The internal organization of a political party shall conform to democratic principles, and its actions and purposes shall not contravene or be inconsistent with this Constitution. All right. So the democratic principles are what we speak of at this moment. They also refer to, aside referring to Article 55(5), they also refer to Article 36.
Yes.
D.
Yes.
Yes. And it reads, make
35,
democracy...
Yes, 35D.
35D.
35(6)D.
35(6)D. Yeah. And it says, make democracy a reality by decentralizing the administrative and financial machinery of government to regions and districts, and by affording all possible opportunities to the people to participate in decision-making at every level in national life and in government, and affording all possible opportunities to the people to participate in decision-making at every level in national life and in government. All right. So these are some of the provisions that the persons who have brought this matter before the Supreme Court have cited in support of they are seeking a declaration, and they are challenging the constitutionality of the delegate-based system. Shall I ask you, Austin, to first explain the delegate-based system? What does it look like?
Okay. So I think it's simple. It's more like the electoral college system. So we are talking about some selected group of people within the political party. So who have been given the opportunity to decide elect the presidential candidate or the parliamentary candidate of a political party. So when you take the MPP constitution, for instance, they have a 15 structure system. So with the structure, they have the National Council, they have the National Executive Committee, they have the Regional Executive, the Constituency Executive, the Electoral Area Coordinators, National Council others, National Patrons of the party. They also have past national officers. Then they have 15 delegates from the external branches. Then they also have one TESCOM rep from every tertiary campus. Then they have the all card-bearing ministers and deputy ministers and all MMDCs.
Okay.
You know the party constitution very well.
You shall also tell us about your party constitution.
I'll tell you about the NDC constitution. But I'm just impressed that
I'm equally well aware of the NDC structure.
As a lawyer and not a politician, he seemed to understand the constitutional. It's commendable. I'm commending him.
I want to tell you that I'm well aware of the NDC constitution. And I can equally give you the structure of the NDC constitution.
It is just interesting that you decided to
So this is a structure they are operating with. So if you don't find yourself within this structure, you are not part of it. So even though you may be a member in good standing, if you are not part of this structure, you may not find yourself
as a delegate
electing either the presidential candidate or the member of parliament in the area. So this has been the case for well over 33 years. We've not had issues with this. So it's an electoral. So it's more like an internal autonomy. So internal party structure, which helps to win the system, protect them, and help them to decide on matters quickly and efficiently, rather than opening the base for every card-bearing member who is in good standing to decide or elect the presidential candidate or the parliamentary candidate.
What is the wisdom behind this delegate system?
So the thing is that this issue has been a running conversation and controversy, particularly when it comes to matters of electoral college, as to whether or not it disenfranchises a large population or a large section of the party members. But the thinking is that it's not possible. You remember in those days in Athens, all the citizens had opportunity to decide on matters bordering the state. When you look at the history of Athens, they all assemble, they take the decision.
You're taking us to Greek mythology.
Exactly. But today, that is no longer feasible.
Why?
Because it is not possible to have over 33 million Ghanaians gathering at a space and deciding on whether or not 24-hour economic policy should be implemented or not. Which is why, when you look at the Constitution, it gives opportunities to political parties to come out with policies aimed at developing and accelerating the development of the country. Political parties. It didn't say the parties must meet Ghanaians and decide on the
But they
matters.
have elected representatives to do that on their behalf.
They have elected representatives. So it's okay. So you're even broadening the conversation. So what becomes of the system that we have, the parliamentary system? Because why not all constituency members or all residents within a constituency get an opportunity to represent the one constituency in parliament? It means that we should broaden the seat in parliament. Instead of 276, we should make it over 33 million or 33 million strong parliament. So we broaden it. Now the thing is that in order to take swift and urgent matters, there's a need to limit the decision makers, who will then be subjected to the broader conversation or the broader people to decide on. So I think this has been rather be a matter of expediency, helping the system, sanitizing the system, and also avoiding delay.
How does expediency sit side by side with the rights of Ghanaians to participate in deciding who their elected or who their representatives should be?
Now don't forget that this is not, if you don't belong to a political party, you are not a member of it. And you don't get opportunity to take decision within a political party.
No, but you can be an independent
and you still be in a political party. It's not possible. Now, the thing is that don't forget that. Now, don't forget that the constitution.
Let me just bring in Professor Smart Sapon, who's just joined us on Zoom. He's going to participate in this conversation. We couldn't bring him earlier on our earlier discussion, but we're happy to have him now. Professor Smart Sapon is the Director of Research and Innovation at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. Good morning, Prof.
Kumasi Technical University.
I beg your pardon, Kumasi Technical University, pardon me.
Most welcome.
Great to have you. We'll come back to you in a moment. I just needed to acknowledge your presence and bring you in. Austin, just land and then I'll come to Hamza.
I'm saying that this is an interesting suit. In fact, it's interesting because I have monitored the conversation across the world. And I think it's been a running conversation even in the United States. When you look at the electoral college system, because after the mass voting, the electoral college has to decide who the winner is.
Is it unconstitutional?
Some have said it is unconstitutional, but I think it is not. Because the thing is that democracy itself accommodates some limitations. In fact, when you read the Constitution, it says the rights in there are subject to what? Limitations, certain limitations. But the question is whether those limitations are genuine and they further the advancement of democracy.
Right.
Personally, I think this borders on internal party autonomy. Do those provisions breach the 1992 Constitution? I don't see it.
You don't see it?
I don't see that.
Hamza, do you see it?
Absolutely not. And so for me, yesterday when I heard the news, it was kind of strange that our elder statesmen would allow themselves on this unfortunate journey of trying to stoke or generate interest where interest is not needed.
It was strange?
Yes.
But
strange.
the NDC has gone down this path before.
It's strange. NDC has gone, but that is within the democratic right of the NDC to elect a certain particular path. We go through reforms. All political parties go through that reform. You just made reference to Article 55. If you can put it back on the screen.
All right, let's bring 55 back on the screen.
And I will demonstrate clearly why I think that it does not in any way go against our democratic principles.
Okay. So while we bring it back, let me
Article 55 makes references to Ghana's democratic principles and the fact that our political parties must conform to those democratic principles. What is the democratic principles we are talking about? First of all, remember that when you are interpreting the 1992 Constitution, we have been told in a litany of cases decided by the Supreme Court, the most obvious being NPP and AG, the 31st December case, that you simply do not limit yourself to the text of the Constitution, but its spirit. And so if you take the spirit of the 1992 Constitution, it creates what we call the legislature, the Parliament of Ghana.
This is the article you were
That's right, and I'm making reference to the democratic principles and its actions and purposes. I'm trying to establish the democratic principles that are inherent in the 1992 Constitution. That may not be obvious in the text, but in principle, as far as the spirit is concerned, it is quite clear.
Which principles are you referring to?
I'm referring to the principle of the electoral college system. And I will demonstrate to you that even in the 1992 Constitution, it's inherent.
The delegate system?
Yes, and I'll demonstrate. In terms of decision making, where certain group of people take decisions on behalf of the larger society. If you look at the 1992 Constitution, it tells us how we elect our members of parliament. It proceeds to indicate to us how even the Speaker of Parliament would be elected. Do the rest of us gather to elect the Speaker of Parliament? Those we give our mandate to as MPs, in turn, come together to elect the Speaker of Parliament. That tells you that even the electoral college system is inherent in Ghana's democratic principles under the 1992 Constitution. That is why you don't have the over 30 million Ghanaians assembly to elect a Speaker of Parliament. It is same when it comes to the political parties. Members come together to elect branch executives. Branch executives and constituency executives come together to elect regional executives. Regional executives and constituency executives, delegates are chosen to elect national officers. In line with that democratic principle espoused, even when it comes to the election of the Speaker of Parliament. That is an electoral college system. So how is this The electoral college system that political parties are practicing now, how is that an affront to the democratic principles founded in the 1992 Constitution? That's one. Now, secondly, our Constitution is also quite clear when it comes to who is qualified to vote. And it says 18 years and above, and of sound mind, right? It does not give every Ghanaian the right to vote. That same Constitution again gives us an indication as to who is qualified to become president of the Republic of Ghana. 40 and above.
Everyone.
Of course. Fortunately, I believe most of us on this table are qualified to contest for the presidency.
You have plans?
I am not sure I do. Okay. But you see, I said I am not sure I do.
Yeah.
That's a
But I know you
political
do.
answer.
No, but of course, it's
you are my
we will
supposed.
make of
brother.
it what we
Now he's
will
my
make of
brother. I
it.
know
Where
you.
you going?
You see, now I won't allow Austin to distract me. Now, but the issue is, even that constitution has brought about this strata. Also in line with our democratic principles in terms of the limitations that are imposed. So if political parties also decide on an electoral college system, it is still in sync with the limitations that our democratic processes are subjected to under the 1992 Constitution. How is that unconstitutional?
They say it disenfranchises the
So
majority
does the
of
election-
the people. They're asking for
does the-
equal and direct
That's what I'm asking you.
participation.
The Constitution that limits, that brings about age, it doesn't disenfranchise so many other Ghanaians
Well, you
who
have
are
to be
under
an
18
adult
years.
to be able to make a
who are
decision.
under 18 years.
Yeah,
Do
well,
you know that those
you're
about the
required to be
age
an
of, there are
adult to be able
advocates
to-
today who feel that we should even bring it to 16 years.
Which is genuine.
So, which is genuine. And I'm telling you that, you see, we have to be careful in this country. In any case, if you look at the historical evolution of democratic governance, and many of the examples that we can make references to, as far as democracy is concerned, even the most established democracies, they still pride in the electoral college system. The United States of America,
UK.
whether it is the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, the democratic systems, the electoral college system works. If you take the UK, whether it has to do with the Conservatives or the Labour Party, it is still the same.
Do you see any challenge at all with this delegate-based system?
You see, every system has challenges. Every system has challenges. I know, as a matter of fact, that, for example, the Labour Party in the last 2 decades or 3 have been engaged in serious reforms. In the past, it used to be only the sitting members of parliament had the opportunity to elect the Labour leader. They decided subsequently, I think after 1980 or so, to broaden it up, and they included the Labour unions. Then there was a conflict because suddenly the MPs started arguing that because of the representation the Labour union blocks had, they invariably diluted their influence in terms of electing a leader. And so the unions were those now electing the leaders for the members of parliament. And there was another reform to take care of that particular challenge. So many of these electoral college systems have challenges. So it will be, even if it is expanded for everybody to have a say. And undoubtedly, the National Democratic Congress went on that trajectory. We expanded it, we opened it upon course. And we discovered challenges with that open system.
What were the challenges?
Because one of the challenges was simply even ascertaining who your party member is.
Card-bearing members.
Yes, card-bearing member. It was difficult because
Why is
anybody
that
at all could walk in and register and hold your party card, even though the person is not really a member of the National Democratic Congress.
For what
That too.
purpose?
Oh, politics, anything can happen. All politicians, we do it.
Oh, is that so?
We do it. That's why I'm telling you. See, the difference between the NDC and the MPP is our honesty. It is our honesty. I wouldn't sit here and tell you that politicians don't engage in all manner of things to undo each other. Because that is not the training I got from the National Democratic Congress. Ours is rooted in poverty and accountability and honesty, especially when you are now being led. After the years of President Mills and that of John Dramani Mahama, nobody can doubt John Dramani Mahama's honesty. And so we try to live that character traits of our leaders.
All right, I want you to
And
talk
so-
to us about some of the challenges the alternative presents. If we step away from the delegates.
I have just given you one example in terms of the possibility of infiltration.
Not finding the right.
That's one. Yes, that's
Okay.
one. 2, the cost of running those elections are clearly unsustainable.
Okay.
Very costly. You know, as a matter of fact, even our national elections, our electoral commission has to rely on international partners or donors to be able to manage the cost of our national elections. So the cost implications on political parties is something that we all must take advantage. We must at least avert our minds to. And so these are the challenges. And now when I read the case that Oliver, my senior brother, my senior comrade, is trying to make on behalf of these three wise men, if I am allowed to call them. But I can tell you that. And there's a woman, yes.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that they should tone down a little. I think that this is the time for them to enjoy their retirement. We appreciate their years of dedicated service to the Republic of Ghana. But at this critical juncture, we would want to focus on the things that directly impact the economic well-being of the Ghanaian people. We would want to ensure political accountability when it comes to the executive arm of government. And many of these things that I'm convinced that will not fly, lawsuits of this nature, are only designed to divert the attention of not just the executive arm of government and our political parties, but to a very large extent, the Ghanaian people from actually exacting accountability as far as this current government is concerned.
Or otherwise, it's for the advancement of our democracy.
I do not. You see, that's what I'm saying. I can appreciate that thinking. But I'm simply telling you that, look, there are litany of cases. The precedents are there. You should simply know that this is a waste of time.
I see.
Because like I have indicated to you around this table now, our constitutional principles are clear. You are now going against the very Constitution 1992.
That's your opinion.
In fact, and that is the law. Because the principles are in there.
There are always two sides to every argument in the law, I believe. That's why there are always lawyers on both sides. And so just as you argue your point out, I'm sure they have strong arguments in favor
I respect
of this
that.
position.
I respect that.
Now, you've spoken about the cost of the delegates, of going the other way. But Hamza, we also know that a lot of... did I call you Hamza?
That's what Doc was looking at you.
I just called you Hamza, forgive me. But we also know how expensive the delegate-based system can be on the political parties and the aspirants.
Yes. Now, I think I'm happy we're having this discussion as a nation. And this idea of having universal suffrage for internal political party elections was an idea that I had thought about, I think, some 4 years ago.
Is that so?
Yes. In order to dilute the effect of monocracy in determining who leads the various structures of a political party. On theory, it sounds good.
What sounds good? The delegate-based system.
To expand it.
Okay.
Yes, to have a universal suffrage system in place. And on theory, it's fantastic. If you look at Africa, for example, the closest country that really practices this, and especially the Democratic Alliance, the DA party of South Africa, has such a system in place where the entirety of its membership goes to elect the leaders of the party.
Okay.
If you look at the UK, the Labour Party has a system in place. The Conservative Party also has a system in place. The Liberal Democrats also have a system in place like that. But however, you know, Hamza made some crucial points, which I think that is very, very important, because you have to also look at the cost aspect, right? Now, how much would it even take to even conduct an election of that nature, right? Are we supposed to have discussions as a country that now the state should even give some form of funding to political parties? Are we ready to have that conversation as well? To take up some of these costs? That if you're a political party that has been approved by the Electoral Commission and you're going into a presidential or parliamentary election, right, you ought to have some form of funds from the state. It's also another conversation that has come up, I think, some time ago. You know, but again, I believe that this system would dilute what I call the elite capture or elite control in various political parties and our governance system. If you look at Russia, anytime you mention the oligarchs, the first country that comes to mind is the Russian Federation, right? But we do have oligarchs in Ghana. We do have oligarchs in our various political parties. And so it is a matter of when the people decide that this is the way we want to go. Because it's democracy and the power resides in our people. Right, but I believe that on theory, as I intimated, that
it looks good.
It looks good, fantastic.
But practically,
because you cannot bribe. Imagine if you have 20,000 people, members of a certain political party in, let's say, my constituency, Ayawaso West Wogon. You cannot bribe all 20,000 with that 500 or 1,000 cedis that they normally give, right? It will be so expensive. I'm not sure you'll be able to afford, right? And so it dilutes that effect of monocracy. And I think that it's a very important conversation we need to have, because this is coming at a time where we believe that one of the most sensitive public polity in charge of electioneering in our country, the EC, is not living up to its mandate. If the EC was a very formidable institution, strong institution to crack the whip, I'm sure all these issues wouldn't have even come in the first place.
Issue of monocracy.
Yes. Because the laws are there. The EC is not cracking its whips. The EC is not enforcing the laws. Because it's clear. I'm sure your media house has captured videos of delegates even saying that this is our cocoa season and that this person gave me 500 and this person gave me 1,000. And the evidence is out there clear. But unfortunately, we are not cracking the whips. And so these conversations, are legitimate. But, for Hamza to say that our two wise men and one wise lady should go on retirement and think about their retirement, I think is quite harsh, Hamza.
No. You did not understand. It was not with any mischief. I just said that I think that they should trust the capability of this youth to be able to perform.
But I think that
it's time for them to go to actually rest because they deserve it.
Yes, but
they have earned it.
But just like
it's not with any mischief, I can assure you.
Yes, okay. But anyways, just like our family value systems, we have elderly people at home, and they will always guide us in our journey towards the future. So now.
Sometimes in Africa, the guidance from the elderly can be
virtuous elderly people. Virtuous elderly people. So now what I say, the NDC, as Hamza has intimated, did it in 2015. It worked out for them, right? So NDC is one of the successful test case or case studies when it comes to Ghana, for example. So I think that, yes, political parties should look at it, and as a nation, we should also...
It's worth considering.
We should, but then the cost aspect is another thing. Are we looking at also financing, giving certain incentives, or maybe having some budgetary allocation to political parties to also take care of this cost? Because democracy, in this sense, is expensive to run. And so these are conversations that we hope to follow, and we'll see.
Let's come to the prof.
No, quick one. The thing is that, look, the NDC did not open its system to all members of the party.
No,
they only expanded the delegate system.
They expanded, that's what I
which the MPP too has done. So, oh no, they all did it. No, I just want us to situate the conversation. Let's situate the
what did MPP do?
Gentlemen, calm down.
NDC said that any card-bearing member was allowed, was legible
I'll come back
to vote.
to you.
Okay, I'll come back to you.
That's what we did.
Professor Smarsapo,
you can't compare it.
Are you still with us?
No, I think
I'm here.
All right, you've had the conversation around the table. Do you lean towards this suit before the Supreme Court asking that the delegate system be declared unconstitutional, or do you believe that it's the way to go? Shall we stick with the system, or shall we consider allowing all Ghanaians who, are of sound mind, are above the age of 18, belong to a political party, to participate in deciding who our candidates should be?
Right. Now, very interesting conversation in studio. I want to come in with the foundational definition of who a delegate is. Then we can juxtapose it with the suit on the table to see if it is actually practically possible to take away the delegate system. So number one, a delegate is an individual, it's a certain human being selected to represent a specific group or a constituency. So when you take of the groups, you can talk about the ward the branch, they have their own demographic definition that makes them a group. The statistical service will tell you they are an enumeration area. Electoral Commission will tell you they are an electoral area or a polling station. There are those standard definitions. In that polling station, as defined by Electoral Commission, the political parties are selecting some individuals who will represent that polling station. When it expands to the constituency, and you know Ghana is a constituency. Ghana is a constituency, even though we have constituencies within, at the presidential level, Ghana is a constituency. So the president is a delegate, is an individual selected by us, group of people, to represent us. So that is the standard definition. So in the definition, you see elements like an individual to represent groups. Then you see elements like selection and all those things. Those are very basic elements of the definition of who a delegate is. And so we come to the case and we say we should take away the delegate system. What does it mean? When there is the need for representation, all citizens of maybe a polling station, all of them should move to the center for decision making to go, and there's no need to select any individual among them or group of individuals among them to go and represent them. So that is the challenge I have with the suit, unless we are going to have something to do with the definition. If not, a delegate will remain a certain individual or group of individuals. And we see this in our various unions. At UTAG, we have, maybe when you take Kumasi Technical University, you have staff strength of about 700 to 800. Now, we select some people, let's say the teaching side, 500 or so, we select some of them to represent us at the various hierarchy of the associations we belong to, including organized labor and all those things. That is delegate system. Are we saying that we should do away with the delegate system so that Kumasi Technical University alone, when there's the need for decision making, will bring 500 lecturers? University of Ghana can give you like 1,000 lecturers plus. KNUST will give you a certain number, blah, blah. You can imagine how chaos the system will be. So fundamentally, I see the argument as a little cumbersome, but I trust that the Supreme Court at their level will see where to put some of these arguments in their rightful places. But when you even zero down to the political parties, what do? Maybe we can talk about the way they are selected, the delegates are selected, the process. Some of them, instead of carefully organizing the polling station so that they can have a fair process to select who their polling station representative or executives are, they use other means to organize that process. We can challenge the process, but I think that we do not want to put ourselves in that state of chaos.
Yeah.
To instead of selecting people to represent us, we all want to go. We are looking at it at the political bit. That is why it's worth discussing. But if you should expand it, you realize that no, the conversation is a little some way. And I think in the wisdom of the framers of our constitution, some of these provisions that even captures legislators, the MPs, they are individuals selected by a group of people or constituents to represent them. Their functions are supposed to be to ensure that their preference is voiced out. What they want is actually voiced out. Then it comes into the general decision making. Then the majority decision carries the day. But they are there to represent the people they represent and ensure that it is their position on the matter on the table that is voiced out. If you have problem with their selection process, that is fine. If you have problems with some of the means by which they come into being, that is fine. But I think it would be extremely chaotic to imagine that a delegate system of any form is taken away.
All right, Prof, just in a minute, quickly, if, let's say the court rules against the delegate system, the matter ends, the court says, well, the delegate system is unconstitutional. What suitable alternative can you recommend?
Okay, so there's one fundamental issue. I think one of your panel members mentioned. The state is actually not in charge of the political parties. The political parties are somehow
Private.
decoupled from the state.
Okay.
And so it means the Supreme Court will have to do consequential orders and extend the service of the state to the political parties, fully fund them, fully take care of all their budget, insert their budget into the national budget, provide it for them timely so that they can satisfy the new orders the Supreme Court may give. I think that consequential order will be fundamental to the decision the Supreme Court will make.
All right. Thank you so much, Professor Smart Sarpong, for joining us on the phone lines. Now, I have exactly 15 seconds each for each of you, just to give us your final remarks on this matter. Yes.
I think if the Supreme Court rules in favor of this action or in favor of the plaintiffs, it will be disastrous, because imagining it will have to cut across all the unions, from the political parties to UTAC, to TUC, to National Union of Ghana Students, because all these institutions operate, they have the delegate system. So it will have a consequential effect. And I think they like Hamza said, I don't think they will side with the
Hamza.
plaintiffs.
I know Oliver very well, and I appreciate his industry when it comes to his burning desire to contribute meaningfully to our democratic process. But on this particular issue, I think that my advice to him is simple. Senior, this is a matter you cannot possibly win in court. And I think that it will be in the interest of you and the old men to at least take a bow and rest. Let us leave things. Let us leave things. I should. Interestingly, I was hoping that we would have the opportunity to discuss the rather laughable press conference that the minority held yesterday. It's
one of the things we had
but
tabled,
unfortunately,
we don't have
even
time.
our inability to discuss that matter should be a reminder to the New Patriotic Party, especially their front bench in Parliament, that their relevance continues to wane because of their inability to appreciate the changes that have taken place as far as this country is concerned since 7th January 2025. And the desire of the Ghanaian people to begin to want to see some changes, even in their own internal political organization.
Yes, but they still
our
have
inability to discuss it today.
They still have the right
tells you how MPP
they still
issues
have the right to
been placed
share
on the
their
back burner.
views.
No, I'm not saying they shouldn't,
but
it should
it's because
be
of
rooted,
time that we
it should be rooted
couldn't
in
go
fact.
Into it.
It should be rooted in seriousness, and it should be rooted in service to the good people of this country. Not just one designed to make the political buzz. And that is what we are receiving
Hamza.
from the MPP minority side today.
All right, Hamza. Doc Ramsey.
Now, since Hamza has started this conversation, I would also like to end on this note.
Okay, you have 30 seconds.
Yes, I mean, in the wisdom of our old people, they say that wise people would never take wise counseling from a scripture bar. From a drinking bar. And in that sense, the New Patriotic Party, as I have called it, and as many have intimated over the years, that it has metamorphosed from the New Patriotic Party to Nanes People's Party. And these people are far away from the founding ideals and ideology of the party. They make reference and they make some very unsound and ill comments about the current CJ, Justice Bafo Boni, who is, I would say, one of the most competent Chief Justices we've ever had under the aegis of our Fourth Republic. For them to say that he got this position on a silver platter and that it was not his merit or his credibility that won him that position, it is unfortunate. And then they talk about the central bank, the losses of $214 million.
Please learn from me.
Under the leadership of Mahmoud Bawumia and Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the central bank recorded the largest loss in its history, 60.8 billion cedis. Did they do a press conference about that?
All right, Doc.
So what I'm saying is that, and I would end again, that the Ghanaian people will and would never take scripture lessons from a drinking bar.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Ramsey Inusa, Hamza Suini, Austin Bracco Paris, and Professor Smart Sarpong. And thank you to you for joining us online and sharing your thoughts